Hello, welcome to Thornhill English Academy. My name is Teacher Charlotte, and today we are going to be looking at listening section 2. Section 2 is similar to section 4 in that there is only one person talking. This means that you will be listening to a monologue. In today's lesson, we will have a quick overview of the general listening strategies, and then we'll focus a little bit more on specific question types. This is because the type of question that we have can affect the strategies that we use to answer that question. So, before we look at the listening this week, let's begin with a review of the general strategies that we use before we listen and why. The first strategies we usually have are to skim and scan the section. Let's just review what these mean. Skimming and scanning is when we search for clues in things like the title and the headings. We skim and scan the text to check the instructions and title, the headings and subheadings, and also the question type. But what can we find from this information? Well, we can find out the topic, we can also find organisation of the listening, and we can think about the strategies that we're going to use. Now let's have a look at the listening. So here we've got our listening questions, and the first thing we need to look at are the instructions or the title. In the listening questions, we can see we have instructions, and the key words to take out of this instruction are radio talk and listening. So the words radio talk and listening help us to think about the topic. At this stage, our brain starts to engage the topic and think about the vocabulary needed. Second, we need to look at the headings or subheadings. In these questions, we can see that it's split into questions 1 and 2 at the top and questions 3 to 10 at the bottom. This shows the organisation, that the listening is going to come in 2 sections. Third, we need to look at the question type, because like we said, this can change our strategies. The question type here in 1 and 2 is choose 2 letters. So here we have to make a choice from a list. The second part, complete the notes below, shows us that it's a notes completion type of question. After we've done our skimming and scanning, we need to look at the general strategies. Now, as a reminder, these general strategies are looking at keywords and also thinking about prediction. Looking at the keywords here, the first thing we want to find out is how many choices do we have. Quite clearly it says 2 letters, 2 topics, so we can only choose 2 things in this stage. Next, we need to find out what our key words are. Usually the key words will be words that tell us the answer is coming, and sometimes these can be synonyms later on in the listening, so it's important we choose some correct key words. Here we're looking for possible synonyms for each word. So as you can see in the first one there, lecture could be something like a talk, a discussion could be a conversation, an inquiry could be a query or a question, preparing could be getting ready, body language, another word we use is gestures, and complaining could be something like a complaint or something about unhappy. Okay, now that we've carried out our general strategies, let's listen to the first part and see how you get on.
And now it's time for the first in a new series called Get the Message, which looks at communication skills and how to improve them. Here's Frances Stevens to present it.
Hello. I think we'd all agree that good communication is vital, whether it's at home, at work, or in personal relationships. So what are the key communication skills, and how can we improve them? I'll be trying to answer those questions over the next 4 weeks. We'll be looking at the skill of speaking and considering how to express yourself clearly in a discussion, for example, or how to make a good impression in a job interview. We'll also be thinking about writing, including how to write an effective letter of complaint and the uses and abuses of email. And finally, we'll be examining gestures and other aspects of body language and considering the effect this has on face-to-face communication. But today, I'm going to start by focusing on the skill of listening.
So, how did you do? We'll find out later. Now let's move on to the second section. The first thing we look at in the second part is how many choices do we have? Well, here it's a gap fill, so we need to use no more than 3 words. That means 1 word is okay, 2 words is okay, 3 words is okay, but 4 words is not okay. These kind of questions are note completion questions, and there are specific strategies we can use for these. So let's have a look. The first thing we're going to look at is keywords. So we looked at keywords before, and in note completion, keywords can be the signal words. They give us a signal that the answer is going to come. They come at the beginning or the end of the gap, and the order may be different from the actual text. So you can see here I've highlighted all of the signal words, and they're usually just 1 or 2 words before or after the gap. In most situations, they come before the gap, like this, but sometimes they may come actually before and after the gap, like this. Another note completion strategy is that you may hear synonyms or a different word form to that in the question. So let's have a look at an example. Special could change to especially, and effective could change form to effectively. Another note completion strategy is prediction. Now, we've looked at prediction before. This time we're looking at the word forms that come in the gap. Sometimes we can predict that word form by looking at the clues before and after. So let's try that now. So the first one, we have the word is, the verb to be. This is generally followed by an adjective, so we can guess this is going to be an adjective. The same with question 4, you are, the verb to be. Again, likely to be an adjective. Question 5, your, this would usually be something like a noun. So we can guess noun here. In number 6, if you need, well, we could need to do something, so it could be a verb, or we just might need something, so it could be a noun. Number 7, try not to let personal prejudices influence. This is likely to be a noun. Number 8, we have listen with reason, and then we have with again. So we can guess from this that we're going to have another noun. In number 9, we have to understand, and then we have to again. So this tells us it's going to be another verb. And finally, in number 10, be aware of what speaker. Again, this could possibly be a verb, or it could be an adjective. Okay, now we've looked at the note completion strategies, let's have a go at listening to the second part and see if you can get the correct answers.
Now, listening is a far more sophisticated skill than most people realise. And poor listening is a very common cause of breakdowns in communication, so you need to be aware of a few rules. The first golden rule of listening is to stop talking, because you can't listen carefully if you keep interrupting. This is especially important when the situation is familiar, when you're talking to a relative or friend, say. In situations like that, it's all too easy to assume you know what the person means and start working out your reply instead of paying attention to what they're really saying. Next, try to relax. Research has shown that it's much more difficult to listen effectively if you're feeling at all tense and anxious. So if you've been dealing with a tricky problem at work, for example, and you feel the tension building up, take a deep breath before you answer the telephone. Let your brain adjust first. You also need to make the speaker feel relaxed. And the way to do that is to show them they have your full attention. Try to look interested in what they're saying. Don't look over their shoulder or start scribbling on a piece of paper. Of course, there may be reasons why you want to make notes. In this case, tell the speaker in advance and explain the reason. Say the notes are to help you remember exactly what they said. Blame your poor memory if you like. This is important because we often use facial expression to tell us how the conversation is going. Next, be aware of any prejudices you have, personal political, whatever, and make a conscious effort not to let these views affect your judgment. You may not see things in exactly the same way as the other person, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to understand their point of view. It's important to realise that listening is an active process. To listen effectively, you need to use not only reason, but also feeling. That means trying to identify with the other person and putting yourself in their position. After all, the point of listening is to understand the other person's point of view, not to win an argument. If you can empathise with the speaker, you're much less likely to jump to the wrong conclusion. And one final point. Remember to listen for what the speaker is not saying. That sounds strange, I know, but very often what's missing from a conversation is at least as important as what's there.
Welcome to Thornhill English Academy online learning portal. With Thornhill English Academy, you'll get face-to-face video contact with your native English speaker teacher through a whole lesson. All of our native English speaker teachers have master's degrees from Western universities, and you'll be studying with them in small groups, so you get a lot of face time with your teacher. All of our courses are conducted with a trained IELTS examiner, and our video and audio quality are exceptional. We give regular IELTS tests with full feedback from examiners, and we provide proven strategies for success in every part of the exam. Our local staff at Thornhill speak your language and will answer any problems or questions via phone or email. They'll give you free training on how to use our software. Head to our website www.thornhillenglish.com to check out our amazing prices. We also offer conversation, listening and speaking classes for all levels of learners. Or click the screen for some more IELTS tips videos. See you soon at Thornhill.